Welcome to the CMC podcast. At CMC, we help women and minority owned construction businesses grow through networking, incremental business growth, and construction focused business coaching. I am your host. My name is Michael Obither. I'm with Supporting Strategies NYC. We help business leaders build profit. Today on the podcast, we have Safiy Abdur-Rahman. He is with the Rom Group. They offer some very specific and very helpful services in the construction world: construction management, general contracting, high-end finish construction, and procurement. Safiy, it is great to have you on the pod today. How are you?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much. A lot of times we're recording these podcasts with, attorneys and accountants and payroll people, all sorts of different professionals that are part of the CMC. But it's always nice to speak to one of the real members, one of the people who actually are running a construction business, to talk a little bit about their journey into the trades. And that's kind of where I'd like to get started with you. Just how did you find your way into construction?
Well, Michael, myself and my family, we've been working in the construction industry for quite some time, starting with my dad, going back over 40, 50 years, actually practicing construction here in New York City. A lot of that focus has been on, construction management, project management, really executing projects with a high focus on safety and quality. My background specifically, just sort of coming from or having some, being sort of exposed early on to experiences and background in construction, I ended up in school for architecture. I'm an architecture by training or by education, in a sense, and post my architectural career, designing and planning buildings, just started to work full-time for my family-owned business, along with my father and brother who has a electrical background as well. So I think that's where when we start to sort of dive into the types of projects that we undertake, the types of projects that we manage and tend to execute, they certainly have or lean towards some of our more personal experiences. We, in terms of the trade work that we do a lot of interior finish work, interior finish contracting work, as well as with my other partners' background in the electrical space, some low voltage installation and some electrical contracting as well.
Wow, that is amazing.
Above all of those things, we for many years like I said, we've been performing professional services in the construction space, and quite, I wouldn't say it was interesting, but through some of our engagement with CMC and the CMC network, we've certainly started to dive in and focus on some of our trade work as well. So it's been quite a journey over the last couple years, but excited to say we're still here and enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah, it's what I'm curious to know, as a trained architect, sounds like you did some work as an architect. What is it like to be on this side of the drafting table? Like now you're executing based on somebody's blueprints, right? Somebody's plan. Has it given you a different view of the job of being an architect? Or what?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, man. It's a different perspective. So I would say, like, early on in my career, working as an architect, working for other companies as, an architectural professional, you're certainly wearing a different side of you're on a different side of the equation, essentially.
Yeah.
When it comes to implementing those designs and thoughts of the design professionals as a construction professional, whether it be a trade specific thing or managing a construction project, you almost have to think about things a little differently, right? Because we're not so much focused on the design and the aesthetics of the design, but getting a project built, right, on time, on course. Budget's a big factor, schedule's a big factor, and costs, right? So those things are sort of primarily at the forefront when you start to go out and execute a project, and there's just so much sort of risk that is involved with construction, right? You're managing just so much more than just the design and the drawings on a piece of paper. So there's a lot more that can go wrong. There's a lot more that you have to certainly pay attention to, and it usually. It's interesting because you sort of design a project, you get through design. The architecture and the design professionals are still around, but once you get that sort of shovel in the ground and that stake, everyone's counting on the construction professionals to get the job built and executed on time. And those are where sort of some of the I wouldn't even call them challenges, but really the pressures of construction come into play.
Right. When you're in a comfortable office drafting, there's certainly different considerations, but it's a very different environment. So it's cool to talk to someone who's been on both sides of that, because I'm sure both your construction friends out there in the world who are at the mercy of an architect's designs have had some choice words potentially for the architects of some designs and vice versa. So it's great to have that perspective. So, and it seems like you're doing, I mean, I know you have the variety of services you bring to the table, but I wonder, that finished carpentry is interesting to me, because it is like a specific skill set, right? I have some background in construction. My family are tradespeople, and there's a difference between being able to frame a wall or maybe put a roof on a building versus the beautiful woodwork or trim work or custom cabinetry that you might need for an office interior or a building interior. Where is that skill set coming from in your business? Is that your skill set, or do you have employees who have that skill set?
Yeah, so when I'll give you a little background on this as well, because there's some good tie-in here to the CMC network and our participation in the network as well. Early on, when we explored joining the CMC network and looked to build our capacity and get some backing of the CMC network and the participants in the CMC network. Early on we identified our sort of sweet spot, a trade that we were looking to build our capacity in as finishes. Part of this was we had some really good opportunities with some procurement. We were procuring tile and other materials for some government entities and some agencies. And it's like, okay, well, hey, if we can procure the materials, we certainly can install the materials as well. And that led us towards sort of building out the capacity to provide finished contracting. So today we do have just a small labor force, right? It's not, we don't have a big crew, but we have the capacity to go out and perform that finished trade and some low voltage trade as well. And through participation in the network, early on it's like, oh yeah, we can certainly do that. Give us a job, we'll nail it. But as we started to connect the dots, we sort of took care of a lot of the back of house approach that we sort of needed to be successful in what we're doing, and hired the right folks, right, and got the right people involved in our organization. Early on, and prior to joining the network, it was just myself, my father, brothers. Like we're kind of all hands on, running the business, as well as providing the services that the business offers, right? As well as managing the crews and the labor and whatnot that on the jobs that we were doing. So it was quite frankly, we were probably doing a little bit too much, and it really did make a lot of sense early on to start to take a more better foundational approach to our business, get our back of house in order, from our accounting to reporting and insurances and the likes thereof. As we started to begin to bid jobs and win jobs and things like that. Along that journey also with dealing with the CMC network and the members and participating and the capacity building and the back of house support and all of those things, we were fortunate enough early in our development as a business to focus on our certification. So we did a lot of that stuff in-house. We were MBE, or we are MBE certified. We're MBE, New York State MBE certified business. We're also a New York State DBE certified business. We're also New York State service disabled veteran owned business. We're also New York City MBE certified as well. So, again, early on in our creation, development of the organization, we thought those were some good areas to focus on, so that when we did come to the network, we had some opportunities for support and working with members and working with the leadership within the network to start building out and, like I said, putting the right things in place for us as an organization to succeed. But fortunately for us, those were some things that we didn't have to focus on when it came to the municipal or the government certifications. But those were pretty instrumental in our growth as well.
No question. I mean, those certifications definitely help give you a leg up in the bid process for sure. But I know that one of the main things that Viv is concerned with when she's working with, like a team like yours, is that back office stuff, the nuts and bolts, the insurance, the reporting, the accounting, just having a structure behind you. And it sounds like you've tackled quite a bit of that with Viv already. But I'm curious to ask this, because one of the big transitions Viv helps people make is many of the people that she works with are in the field, they're on the job site doing work. And, if you're going to scale up, at some point, you got to step back from that. And now you have a little bit of a different dynamic, because there's your dad, your brother, and yourself. So has that transition been part of your work with Viv? Have you or other members of your team stepped back from hands-on work or being on the site every day? How has that changed, or has it changed?
No, that certainly has changed. I would say, certainly for myself, I just over the last 12 months have really been focused on building out the organization and making sure the back of house and our organizational capacity is in place. So that's been a really big shift for me, who has always just been a little bit more hands-on with all of the projects and work that we undertake. And if I was needed out in the field to bang a nail, I was out in the field banging nails. But with that approach, it may be necessary for some, it may be necessary at times, but it's certainly unsustainable over long periods when you're looking to properly grow a business. So it is important to, at times take a step back and find out what are the most meaningful resources for you to sort of execute the vision of yourself, your organization, and have the best impact. And we've sort of done so, and it makes us all actually less hands-on, all of the ownership in the business when it comes to when I say less hands-on to maybe the end result of task or the execution of work, and more bringing the management skills and capacity that we have to bear on the projects.
Yeah, you said something that I'm going to ask you about, but you said about, being focused on the things that are going to be the most impactful to your business. And, that's my moment to moment thought process in my work. Any professionals should be hopefully thinking like, what is the most valuable thing I can do right now? And it's a huge challenge because there's always more things you could do than you actually have time and energy to execute. So what has that been like? Is that part of the work you've done with Viv to have a process to figure out like, yeah, this is number one in a given situation?
Yes, in some regard, for sure. So, we kind of got through a rough year, right? It was this whole sort of COVID year.
Yeah.
I'm sure we're not the only ones who the entire country was sort of faced with a pandemic, et cetera. You're operating a business, you are in the middle of projects and things like that. So we, historically have had successes with some of the professional services that we've offered. It has been a little bit of a focus lately just with some of our clients and government clients that we have. Again, just networking with the CMC network, being able to rely on someone like Vivian just for advice and information, it has led us to some focus in certain areas of growth. Really, at the end of the day, it's kind of what's paying the bills right now. So that's certainly where we're focused. if I can kind of sum it up that way. But sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the way. I mean, ultimately, that's the goal. So, in your work, I mean, look, one of the things I've noticed a trend with the folks I talk to that work with Viv, their perspective on either their vision of what's possible for their business changes or their personal goals with their business shift. Have you seen a difference in your own view of the future for the Rom Group as a result of working with Viv? Like, has she opened your eyes to a bigger possibility, or are you already setting big goals for yourself?
So we were certainly ambitious. We've always had like really lofty, big goals for ourselves. So I don't think that was a sort of barrier to our thinking or our growth whatsoever. What the CMC network and working with Viv has exposed us to, right? There was, quite frankly, why we're here, why we're still a part of the network. We certainly have a passion for construction. We have a passion for people development. We really appreciate the network and all that the network does for its members and the community at large. And it's why we still participate. So big picture, I believe that working with CMC and working through this network that we are going to be able to have a much more bigger impact on the local community than on our own or working as an individual, and that's why we still participate, and that's why we're still here. So we're really looking forward to sort of getting those gears turning, and working with the local community and community members, training construction professionals, hiring folks out of the CMC network so that they can come work for Rom Group. And on and on. So and sort of giving back from our experiences and the work that we do through the network and with Vivian. So that's what keeps us here. That's what we're passionate about. And if we have lofty goals, the lofty goal is the giving back and the training and the participating just like this, so that we can all grow together.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's amazing. I know you've been working with Viv for a while. It's cool to hear how much progress you've made as a group, but it's awesome to hear that you're sticking around to kind of, I don't know, give back or pay forward or lift other people, because your experience is so valuable, right? Someone else who maybe doesn't have, a dad who's been in the business for years and years, they're coming from nowhere. It's great to be able to share that background and that perspective, because it can certainly help other people see what's possible for themselves and move everybody forward. So that's great to hear, Safiy. Thank you for sharing. So Listen, if anyone is listening or watching this podcast right now and they have a desire to talk with you about your experience, maybe get some advice on how they can grow their team, what's the best way for people to reach you?
I want to say like I wasn't prepared for that question, but I totally have. Like, you can totally reach us at Rom Group, romgroupinc.com, ROMGROUPINC.com. You can reach us at the office. The phone's always on, 212-920-9600. I'm sure I have a couple, I'm not like active on social media, but we have some social media handles out there. So I know we're on LinkedIn. I know we're on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, right? So there's some handles. Just Google Rom Group. You'll find us. And check out our website, www.romgroup.com.
Oh, that's awesome. And we'll make sure to list those handles and those resources in the write-up for this podcast so people can find that. Safiy, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I really appreciate it. For anyone listening, if you're interested in learning more about the CMC or reaching out to Viv, the best place to go is to the website, www.cmcnetwork.co. You can sign up for the newsletter, which comes once a month. There's a lot of good content from people like Safiy, other professionals that are in the group that are more than happy to talk with you, help you check off some of the boxes in your to-do list that are maybe holding you back from growing your business. So check it out. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you at the next pod.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Safiy.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.